Hey, welcome to the Padawan YouTube channel. My name's Oliver, and today we're going to get into a little theory crafting about the new Kylo Ren comic book that just came out. This is definitely a spoiler-heavy episode in theory, so if you want to read it first, you're more than welcome to come back and check out now. But let's dive right in. So a new Kylo Ren comic book came out, and I'm not going to get into the full breakdown of it, but it brought up an interesting theory when I was reading it. Again, there's definitely some hinting. It's not all written in text, so take it how you will. But in this episode, we see at one point that Snoke's in Kylo's head, which had been suggested before by Leia that Snoke had a grip on him originally. So this is kind of when we see Snoke can kind of talk to Kylo telepathically, right? So we see Snoke's in his head, and he definitely. So this is basically the scene right after, or soon after, Luke went in to confront Kylo about, and has his misgivings, and we see that scene a couple different ways in The Last Jedi. But basically, this is right after that. Right after Kylo pulls the roof down, thinks Luke's dead, is obviously super confused about what's going on. And then what we see is Snoke hinting the whole time that Skywalker did it. They must have talked about it in the past or communicated about it in the past, that Skywalker would turn on him, and Ben probably didn't believe it. So now Snoke takes this opportunity in this moment to when Kylo's at his weakest, when Ben's at his weakest, I should say, to really get in his head and reinforce that Luke was afraid of his power and was going to eliminate, the Jedi because, he's evil and seeking power. He's going to twist it that kind of way. So what we see here, though, which I think is interesting because we kind of knew that was going on. But right after he pulls down the hut on Luke, we all assumed he kind of went crazy and blew up the temple and killed a bunch of the surviving Padawans and kind of left, right? Or took a group is what Luke said. But what we see here, and again, this is just reading into kind of what they're portraying. To me, it doesn't look at all like Kylo does this. He's pissed. He's confused after. He gets up, and we see in the comic, the temple explodes in front of him. Now, we also see lightning, so if you want to get super theory-y and deep into it, you could maybe go the route of, like, this is Snoke or maybe even Palpatine in a way that, remember Yoda in The Last Jedi brings the lightning down even though he's gone in a Force ghost. So that's a little deeper than I'm going to go right now. But keep in mind, you do see lightning come down and hit the temple, and it explodes. And then we see a couple more frames of more explosions, and Ben saying, like, no, I never meant for this to happen. But it definitely doesn't seem like Ben did it. So I'm wondering, and what I'm thinking is Snoke had this set up, whether it's bombs or some kind of Force conjuring to make the temple explode and kill all the Padawans. Don't know the specifics, but Snoke uses this as a twist, right? Because as Ben's going through it and he knows he didn't blow up the temple, he's in his head again saying, no, you didn't do it. You didn't ask for this. You didn't want it. Skywalker did. He did it. And so now it's twisting Ben, right? Because now he basically woke up out of his sleep with Luke above him with his lightsaber lit, right? Gets out of that, is confused, saying, why would he do this? And then the temple blows up, and all his friends and the Padawans are all dead now. Super confused, right? Doesn't know how to deal with it. We do see the other Padawans that were come back and confront him, and this is where I'm convinced that he didn't do that, because it would be tough to explain, obviously, because Luke's dead. They know that. He's the only one alive. The temple's blown up. They just came back. So he's the only one with evidence. So it doesn't look good for him. So he doesn't bother explaining it. Obviously, he's going through a lot in his mind. But he has multiple, and you see when they try to attack him and he uses the Force, and then after when he's in the ship and disables them without injuring anyone, he had multiple opportunities to eliminate those three and leave no survivors, and he doesn't do it, which makes me think he is still very much struggling with the darkness and the light. He's not even really considering Snoke dark at this point. I think he's going through the whole thing of, like, Luke was supposed to be this ultimate good. He just turned on him. He blew up the Jedi Temple. He killed all these Padawans. Like, I got to clear my mind to get out. Snoke is using this and communicating the whole time and twisting him. I just think this changes a lot of my opinion of what happened in that scene, because I had always assumed that Kylo overreacted to Luke. I mean, it's still scary. Like, I get it. Luke was there, and Luke made a mistake and had a moment of weakness, and it went to shit. But the whole point of Snoke being in his head this whole time, and then possibly setting up the destruction of the Jedi Temple right in front of Kylo, and being able to twist Kylo in that moment of weakness, that Kylo's just confused and everything, and make him believe that Luke did that. I mean, it makes Kylo's character seem a lot more... Not that I didn't believe he could turn, because the whole dark side thing, it's happened to a bunch of them, right? Like, you know, we saw Anakin's fall. I mean, it's obviously a strong pull, but man, like, in that moment of confusion, you know, as like a teenager, and then it all set up right in front of you, you saw your master attack you. Like, that's what you experienced. You got out of that, you're confused, and then the temple blows up and kills all your friends. And the one guy that's talking to you, and it seems like Snoke's almost like a father figure at this point, is being nice. So we'll have to see the background there. But he's supporting you, and maybe he hinted that this might happen, and it all happens in front of you, even though he probably set up the bombs. It would be very tough for you to see through that at this point, right? And so that's really just the theory of that Snoke set that all up and put it in his head, and now to me it's a lot more believable and a lot easier to see the turn that Kylo made. The other part is really a bummer, is that Luke obviously wakes up eventually and thinks Kylo did that. Thinks he made a mistake. Like, obviously he overreacted, shouldn't have treated Kylo that way. But then immediately in that guilt, he also wakes up to the whole Jedi Temple being burned, all his Padawans dead, thinking Kylo did that. So he truly thought he turned at that point. So I think this is, I mean, again, there's another episode, so let's see where this plays out, and if they go the whole thing, because maybe it still was Kylo. Maybe he was so angry in that frame that he, by accidentally, you know, channeled some kind of force power and blew up the temple. That's possible, and that changes it a little bit, because then Kylo did do it. But the way I'm reading this is Snoke had it all set up, and didn't only trick Kylo, it really tricked Luke, because if Luke had known that what happened was he overreacted, Kylo pulled the down on him in self-defense, was mad, and then Snoke had set up the temple to be blown up, and Snoke killed all his Padawans, and Ben wasn't a part of that, and Ben thought it was him that did that. I mean, he wouldn't have gone into like hiding and Act 2. I mean, this is a major revelation. Sorry. Getting all hyped up here. It makes Luke's character and Kylo's character, I think, so much more believable, and especially Luke, who, you know, everybody had a problem with, or a lot of people had a problem with where he went and where he was in The Last Jedi. When you look at it like this and what happened, and it was all faked to make Luke feel that way, oof, that's big, you know? So definitely check out the comics. There's a bunch of other stuff in there. There's 3 other Padawans that are going looking for Ben at that point. Ben goes to Snoke. He's on some funny world. Snoke mentions, or Kylo says, wow, look what Luke did to you. And, you know, Snoke looks as bad as he did in the movies. So it hinted that Luke and Snoke had a confrontation once. Maybe that plays into it. That's how Kylo met him, maybe. Or Ben met him, sorry. Like, same guy, but trying to keep it separate for now. And it also has like a couple pages at the beginning about the Knights of Ren, which we'll learn more about, and about what Ren is, and the whole, that whole side of it. So that's cool too. But this theory of Snoke setting that all up is really, I mean, I think it's game changing for the characters. I think it adds so much to Kylo and to Luke, to realizing where Luke was, and imagining the difference it would have been if it had just happened and Snoke hadn't set up the whole bombing of the temple and everything like that, how it may have played out differently. But excellent episode of a comic, excellent issue, I should say. So definitely check it out on Marvel Comics. And yeah, and that's it. So I will catch you guys later. We're going to do a review tonight of The Rise of Skywalker, hopefully. And we'll see you then. Later, Podawans.